In our village, hair was not just beauty. It was pride. It was identity. It was something you never touched without permission. That's why everyone went silent the day Aunty Moreo cut her niece's hair. Little Sod had hair so long and thick people said the ancestors blessed it. Her sister, Aunty, braided it every morning before school, slow, careful, loving. One afternoon, while Aunty was away, Moreo called Sod into her room. "Sit," she said sweetly. Sod obeyed. By the time Aunty returned, her sister was sitting on the floor, shaking. Her hair scattered like fallen leaves. "What did you do?" Aunty whispered. Moreo laughed. She was getting proud. "I taught her humility." The house filled with whispers. "Respect your elders," they told Aunty. "She's just a child," they said about Sod. "Hair grows back." But Aunty saw what others didn't. She saw how Sod stopped smiling. Stopped singing. Stopped looking at her reflection. That night, as Sod slept, Aunty held the cut hair in her hands and made a promise, quiet, fierce, unbreakable. "You cut her hair," she whispered. "But you don't know what you just cut." Because Aunty was not loud. Not violent. Not reckless. She was patient. And in folklore, patience is the sharpest blade of all. Aunty didn't scream. She didn't insult Moreo. She didn't even complain. That confused people more than anger ever could. The next morning, Aunty woke before sunrise and swept the compound. She cooked for her auntie. She fetched water. She spoke softly and lowered her eyes. "See," the neighbors said. "She has accepted it. That girl knows respect." Moreo noticed too, and smiled. From that day on, Aunty became extra obedient. When Moreo asked for tea, it was already poured. When she needed errands done, Aunty ran. When she bragged about disciplining Sod, Aunty nodded silently. But every night, when the lamps were low and the village slept, Aunty braided her sister's short hair gently with her fingers. "It will grow," she whispered. "And so will something else." Sod didn't understand. But Aunty did. She began spending time with the village women who gathered under the old Irako tree, women who knew herbs, traditions, and the old rules no one wrote down. She listened. She remembered. She learned. Especially one rule Moreo had forgotten. In their lineage, the woman who shames a child publicly cannot be honored publicly again. Not until she makes things right. Respect, in their culture, wasn't automatic. It was earned. And Moreo was about to demand respect at the worst possible time. Because the harvest festival was coming. And Moreo wanted to sit in the front. The harvest festival came once a year. It was the day elders sat in the front, names praised, gifts exchanged, and stories retold so children would know who deserved honor. Moreo had been waiting for it. She starched her wrapper. Oiled her skin. Practiced the smile she used when people watched. Aunty watched quietly. On the morning of the festival, Moreo called her. "Make sure Sod stays inside," she said. "I don't want people asking questions." Aunty bowed her head. "Yes, Aunty." But instead of staying inside, Aunty did something else. She went to the women under the Irako tree. She didn't accuse. She didn't cry. She told a story. A story about a child whose pride was cut without consent. About hair scattered on a floor. About silence forced by the word respect. The women grew quiet. 1. The women under the Irako tree didn't interrupt Aunty. In the village, that was never a good sign. When she finished, the oldest woman, Mama Esh, lifted her walking stick and tapped the ground once. "Bring the child," she said. At the festival, drums beat and people laughed. Moreo took her seat proudly in the front row, chin lifted, enjoying the way heads turned toward her. Then the drumming stopped. Mama Esh stood. "Before we honor our elders," she said, voice steady, "we must cleanse dishonor." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Aunty stepped forward, holding Sada's hand. Gasps followed. Sada's short hair was neatly oiled and tied with white thread, the color of truth. Mama Esh pointed her stick toward Moreo. This child's hair was cut without consent, she said. Tell us, Moreo, was it love or was it pride? Moreo stood abruptly. It was discipline. A child must be humbled. Mama Esh nodded slowly. Then let humility answer. She turned to the crowd. In our law, she said, the one who shames a child publicly cannot be praised publicly. The elders shifted uncomfortably. Mama Esh raised her voice. Moreo will not sit in front today. Her name will not be called. Her gifts will not be received. The crowd went silent. Aunty felt Sada's hand squeeze hers. Moreo opened her mouth, but no sound came out. For the first time, her power had nowhere to stand. And Aunty realized something beautiful. She hadn't attacked her auntie. She hadn't cursed her. She had simply let the truth stand where lies once sat. Moreo didn't leave the festival. She stayed, standing at the back, where people rarely looked. That was the worst punishment of all. Children whispered. Women avoided her eyes. Men shifted uncomfortably, unsure which side tradition demanded. Aunty felt no joy in it. Only calm. That night, Mama Esh sent for Moreo. The elders gathered in the courtyard. Lamps flickered. Crickets filled the pauses. You shamed a child, Mama Esh said. And you hid behind respect. Moreo's voice trembled. I raised many children. No one questioned me before. Mama Esh leaned forward. Because no one had the patience to speak wisely. Then she turned to Aunty. What do you ask, she said. Aunty bowed her head. Not punishment, she replied. Restoration. A murmur moved through the elders. Mama Esh nodded. Then hear the terms. Moreo was to apologize, not privately, not quietly, but before the village. She was to replace what she destroyed, not with money, but with time. Every morning, she would braid Sada's hair as it grew back, under the eyes of witnesses. Moreo looked up sharply. To serve, she asked. To repair, Mama Esh corrected. Silence fell. Finally, Moreo nodded. The next morning, she sat on a low stool while Sad stood before her. Her hands shook as she touched the short hair she once cut without care. I was wrong, Moreo said, voice breaking. I used pride where love was needed. Sad didn't speak. But she stayed. And Aunty knew then. The sweetest lesson isn't revenge. It's making someone face the work of healing what they broke. Morning after morning, Moreo braided Sada's hair. Slowly. Carefully. In silence. The village watched, not with mockery, but attention. At first, Moreo's hands were stiff. Accustomed to command, not care. She pulled too tight. Sad winced once, and Moreo froze. I'm sorry, Moreo whispered. It was the first time anyone had heard those words from her mouth. Days passed. Weeks followed. Sada's hair began to grow, not long yet, but alive. With it, something else returned. Her laughter. Her songs. Her habit of looking people in the eye again. Children gathered to watch the braiding. Women nodded approvingly. The lesson was no longer about punishment, it was about witnessed change. One afternoon, Moreo spoke while braiding. When I was young, she said quietly, no one protected me. Power was the only safety I knew. Aunty listened from the doorway. And now? Aunty asked gently. Moreo paused. Now I know power without love is just fear wearing a crown. When the elders met again, Mama Esh observed silently. She has learned, she finally said. And learning must be acknowledged. At the next gathering, Moreo did not sit in front. She sat beside Sad. Not above her. Not behind her. Beside. The village understood. Respect had returned, but this time, it was earned honestly. And Aunty felt no triumph. Only peace. Because the sweetest lesson she taught her wicked auntie was not humiliation. It was how to be human again. Years later, people still told the story, but not the way it first happened. They didn't say, Maria was punished. They said, Maria was changed. Sa grew tall. Her hair grew thick again, thicker than before. When she walked through the market, women smiled and touched their heads in greeting, a quiet sign of respect. Aunty became a teacher. Not just in school, but in life. When young girls came to her with anger burning in their chests, she didn't tell them to fight harder. She told them this. Let the truth stand where lies once stood. Let patience do what shouting cannot. Maria aged softly after that. She no longer raised her voice to be heard. She no longer cut to feel powerful. When children misbehaved, she corrected them with words, and when she was wrong, she apologized without being forced. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Maria sat with Aunty and sobbed. I thought power meant control, she said quietly. But you taught me it means responsibility. Aunty smiled. And you taught the village something too. What is that? Maria asked. That elders are not honored because they are feared, Aunty replied. They are honored because they protect. The Irako tree still stood. And under it, new stories were told. Stories of lessons taught without violence. Justice delivered without cruelty. And a girl who used wisdom so sweet. It healed the hand that once hurt her sister. Because in true folklore, the greatest victory is not defeat. It is transformation. Long after the drums fell silent and the festival dust settled, the lesson remained. Mothers in the village began to warn their daughters differently. Not with fear. With wisdom. Respect is not silence, they said. And power is not cutting someone smaller to feel tall. When disputes rose in households, elders asked new questions first. Was the child protected? Was dignity preserved? Aunty's story became a quiet standard. Not because she shouted. Not because she fought. But because she proved something rare and powerful. That justice can be gentle and still be strong. Saad, now grown, wore her hair proudly, sometimes braided, sometimes loose. When asked about the scar years, she smiled softly and said, My sister taught me that what is cut in cruelty can grow back stronger in truth. Maria never denied her past again. When people praised her change, she answered simply, I was corrected by kindness I did not deserve. And that was the final lesson. That the sweetest revenge is not pain returned, but character revealed. That a wicked act can be answered without wickedness. And that patience, when guided by wisdom, can teach lessons that last longer than fear ever could. So when people say, she taught her wicked auntie a sweet lesson, they finish it quietly, with respect. And the village was better because of it.